Our next speaker, whom you saw yesterday, will be Brian Cham. Brian is a vexillologist, software engineer, filmmaker, cryptographer, designer, and self-described bookworm. He is NAVA's YouTube coordinator, and he is curating our ever richer collection on YouTube, including soon, very soon, proceedings of this meeting. As you saw yesterday, he was very much involved with the redesign of the Minnesota flag and the Utah flag, and he's also currently advising on the Maine and Illinois possible redesigns. Today, he will present a report on his interview with the last surviving creator of one of the flags of the Maori people of New Zealand. Brian.
So today I'm here to talk about the Tino Rangatiratanga flag. It's the flag of the native Māori people of Aotearoa, New Zealand. Designed in 1989, it is a long way from a napkin doodle to a national icon, but it's also garnered controversy. I spoke with the last living creator, Linda Munn, to share her perspective on the story of the flag, and we're both proud to share part of our homeland's culture. And just to note, Aotearoa is the native Māori name for New Zealand, translated as land of long white cloud. New Zealand is the English name, so it's customary to put both of them together and say Aotearoa New Zealand as the full name. So just a bit about myself. As Stephen said, I'm YouTube coordinator and flag design consultant for NAVA. I'm originally from Aotearoa, New Zealand, but I live in London, and I'm passionate about flag design and the flags of my homeland. Linda Munn is the last surviving creator of the Tino Rangatiratanga flag. First designed in 1990, it is the recognized flag of the indigenous Māori people of Aotearoa, New Zealand, and she's now an art teacher, sculptor, and painter who works with community groups in Tauranga. So just a bit of background leading up to the flag. The Māori are the indigenous people of Aotearoa, New Zealand. They quickly adopted the practice of flying flags from Europeans after noticing the prestige that they held. The first Māori flag was the flag of the United Tribes. It was a confederation of tribes in the north that declared independence in 1835 and gained diplomatic recognition. Their flag was designed by English missionary Henry Williams and contained St. George's Cross to represent the Church of England, and this flag is still popular in the far north. On 6th of February 1840, many Māori chiefs signed the Treaty of Waitangi with the representative of the British Crown in response to concerns about colonial ambitions. Ostensibly, it was a sign of cooperation, and this treaty is regarded as the founding document of the country, but it is marred by controversy due to the British side not honoring their obligations under the treaty. Here are some examples of some Maori flags adopted during that time, and up top is the United Tribes flag. So later, in 1982, 3 members of Māori activist group Te Kauriki visited Redfern, a predominantly Aboriginal neighbourhood in Sydney, where they were struck by the omnipresence of the Australian Aboriginal flag. They resolved to adopt an equally iconic flag that would unite Māori of all backgrounds, at a time when Māori groups were not always collegial with each other. The effort started in earnest in 1989 with the goal of having a flag by the 150th anniversary of the Treaty of Waitangi in 1990. The flag of the United Tribes, which we saw just before, was not seen as a viable option because it was a colonized design and not uniquely Māori. Although many respected that flag, it was designed by an Englishman who did not consult Māori during its design, and it contained St. George's Cross rather than Māori symbolism. Instead, they sought a completely fresh design by Māori for Māori, containing uniquely Māori symbolism. Hilda Haruwera, who had been on that trip to Australia, started hui, or consultative meetings, about creating a new flag. They launched a competition among Māori groups in 1989, but the entries were few in number and did not impress them. Undeterred, 3 women in the group, Linda Munn, Iraina Marsden, and Jan Dobson, designed the Tino Rangatiratanga flag in October that year. Linda Munn, the last creator of the flag, reminisces to me. She said, "We had all met in Auckland in Otara. After that, I met wahine, or woman, from the Black Women's Movement. Conversation had been going around for years about Māori identity." The flag, the one at the top there, was born when Iraina doodled his first incarnation on a serviette, unfortunately now lost. Jan, a designer and carver, was very driven, continued the process from her house in Ahipara. Linda, the youngest member, was content to follow along. The design was heavily discussed, revised, and simplified in a series of drawings and discussions. Linda emphasizes that the flag was a group effort, saying, "We wouldn't have the kara, or colors, if it hadn't been for Hiraina, Jan, and Hilda," and acknowledges that many others contributed beyond the three designers. The most important inputs were about the kaupapa, or principles, reflected in the flag, which was, quote, "just a vehicle for the tikanga, or Māori ways and customs." These wider discussions ensured the flag would give them something uniquely Māori to fly, unlike the colonized national flag with the Union Jack, which they felt could not represent them. By 21st of October 1989, Linda finished off the design on refill paper, and they spent the Labour weekend hand-sewing the first 7 flags, also unfortunately now lost. In its final form, the Tino Rangatiratanga flag was proudly presented at a hui in January 1990, where it was enthusiastically welcomed. The final design of the flag is very stunning, simple, is great contrast, and it's very distinctive, which has no doubt contributed to its recognizability and popularity. In the words of Te Kawariki writer Walter Erstich, the flag has the following symbolism. Black represents Korekore, the realm of potential being. White represents Te Ao Marama, the realm of being and light. The koru, the curling frond shape, represents the unfolding of new life. And the design can also be interpreted as a whole cloud mass over Aotearoa. Red represents Te Whai Ao, the realm of coming into being. And overall, the design represents the balance of natural forces with each other. To live life is to live with nature. To appreciate life is to understand nature. The Aboriginal flag inspired the idea of the Tino Rangatiratanga flag. I asked Linda if the designers consciously borrowed the same elements. As you can see, there are some similarities with the black on top and the red on bottom. Linda said it was not a conscious borrowing, that Indigenous people around the world all value land and they all associate it with red. They just tell different stories about its significance. So they're just drawing upon a similar idea, but not a conscious borrowing. So now to evolving significance to Māori. The Tino Rangatiratanga flag surged in prominence during the 1990s at a rate that surprised even Te Kawariki. Linda admitted, "I don't think we quite knew what we were getting ourselves into, really." Well, I didn't. The flag was first raised on 6th of February 1990, the 150th anniversary of the Treaty of Waitangi. To Māori, the day had been tainted by unfulfilled promises and the Crown breaking its end of the deal. As you can see here, this is the photograph where the Tino Rangatiratanga flag was raised for the first time on that anniversary. Linda Munn herself is not in the photo. She was around the area. Consequently, the flag was promoted through protests and a locally printed $5 poster explaining its significance and symbolism, the one on the previous slide. The periodical Treaty Times advertised flags of various sizes, as well as t-shirts, stickers, earrings, and postcards featuring the flag. Te Kawariki tried to control sales to put profits into Māori development, but demand for the flag was too high, and they accepted other manufacturers who could supply the flags at affordable prices. Initially just called the Māori flag, it got its name when politician Peter Paurone wore it on a white polo shirt above the phrase Tino Rangatiratanga in 1992. The phrase is a direct quote from the Treaty of Waitangi, and it literally means total sovereignty or total self-determination. Linda explained what Māori meant by the phrase. She said, "We talk about being our own people and governing ourselves. Māori will look after Māori given the chance." She recognizes that everyone has different reasons for adopting the flag, but affirms for everyone, the core appeal is how it's uniquely Māori. Colonization was a huge hit to Māori and has led to addiction, homelessness, and diseases to this day. When life gets harder, Linda explains, a symbol that is visibly Māori, quote, gives you strength, reminds you of where you come from, who you are, and your tupuna, or ancestors. She likens the flag to a marae, or community meeting house, which gives Māori a sense of belonging to something bigger. By the late 1990s, the flag already reached nationwide prominence among Māori. Its first online presence was on 15th of July 1996, when a Swedish website called it the flag of the Māori nation. Not long afterwards, it gained an entry on Flags of the World on 11th of September 1998, where it was labeled the flag of the Māori independence movement and Māori sovereignty. Since then, the flag has only become more entrenched in Māori activism and national life, although controversy has also followed. So, among Māori, the Tino Rangatiratanga flag is not universally accepted. In 1997, Hilda Halkiad-Harawira noted that the flag may have taken off, but many Māori still hated it and preferred their own designs. These attitudes came to a head in 2009, when Minister of Māori Affairs Peter Sharples and Prime Minister John Key agreed to a request to fly a Māori flag on Auckland Harbour Bridge on Waitangi Day. Sharples led 21 hui, or consultative meetings, where Māori nationwide had to choose a single flag to represent them. Out of these options, some tribes had historical connections to other flags. The Kaumātua tribal elder Eru Thompson said, if you ask the majority of Tainui tribe, they would probably say to use the Kingitanga or the national Māori flag. Historian Paul Moon went further and dismissed the very idea of a single Māori flag as a colonized view. In the end, 1,200 submissions were received, of which 80.1% supported the Tino Rangatiratanga flag, the remainder being mainly the United Tribes flag. On 14th of December 2009, Cabinet recognized it as the national Māori flag and suggested it be flown on Waitangi Day and other national days. Despite its recognition, some Māori remain steadfast in their refusal to fly it. For example, the Te Arawa tribe of Rotorua say it is not representative and indicates to us that we are still a polarized nation. Most significantly, the flag is not officially displayed on the flagpoles at Waitangi Treaty Grounds. As the local elders have denounced it, David Rankin called it a hate flag, and Kingi Taurua called it the flag of the Māori Party. However, that has not stopped protesters from scaling the poles and raising it there anyway on a few occasions. To Linda, the flag's first unveiling at 1990's Waitangi Day demonstration gave the impression that it was purely a protest flag, and they haven't moved beyond that. She laments this narrow reputation and insists that without a movement of resistance, Māori language and culture would not have survived against the force of racism. She notes that whenever they prove themselves, the, quote, white boys club of mainstream society responds with the colonial attitude that the natives are revolting. She perceives that Māori who are ignorant of their culture's struggles internalize this mindset and try to distance themselves from the, quote, dirty Māori who assert themselves, hence the resentment against their own flag and what it stands for. Drawing a parallel between the strength of the oceanic navigator ancestors and the strength of modern Māori, she simply wishes that those Māori who do know need to lift the rest of our people. So, evolving significance to non-Māori. The flag was raised by authorities for the first time on Auckland Harbour Bridge on Waitangi Day 2010. The Ministry of Culture and Heritage states that it is, quote, recognized as a symbol of this land, but does not carry official status, and its official display is encouraged, but this is not policy or protocol. It is often flown on public buildings and landmarks on Waitangi Day and other significant days, like Matariki, or Māori New Year. This move gave the flag the important role to, quote, symbolize and enhance the Crown Māori relationship. It was a part of the social shift towards treating Māori culture as fundamental to the nation. Māori culture is now more mainstream. The national anthem is sung in both Māori and English. Māori language can be found on passports and banknotes, and Matariki, or Māori New Year, is now a public holiday. The flag has also been adopted by non-Māori, but some have wondered if it is inappropriate for others to use it. Linda disagrees, saying, it makes my heart flutter when I see things like that. People are proud of where they come from. She insists that the flag is like a book being shared, and that its usage by the state and non-Māori actually strengthens its significance to Māori rather than diluting it. She clarifies that the flag's display must be mindful. She chastises some examples she has witnessed, people who shared misconceptions about it, a school that flew it upside down, and the flag at half-mast after the death of Queen Elizabeth II, saying, why, she has nothing to do with Māori. What has she ever done for us? And although former Prime Minister John Key should be credited for first approving this official usage, Linda is still indignant at the time he went too far. In 2015, she was flown to a government meeting discussed the idea of adopting the Tino Rangatiratanga flag as the new national flag. She saw it as exploitation of Māori cultural property and flatly refused to sell the rights. She was also critical of national design concepts that appropriated its symbolism to represent Māori culture, saying that these elements only make sense in a fully Māori design. She declared that these designs have no wairoa or no soul, and summed up the consultation with the Prime Minister unfavorably, saying, "What a waste of my time. Design your own flag." So, controversies among non-Māori. The flag has also become a contentious symbol for non-Māori. The first nationwide dispute was in February 1998, when a small school in Helena Bay flew the flag. Locals and politicians denounced the flag and said it took away from the national flag. Māori affairs spokesman Dover Samuels claimed it was not the flag of all Māori, only those who believed the country was a sovereign Māori state. The school was undeterred and kept it aloft. A decade later, the proposal to fly the flag alongside the national flag on Auckland Harbour Bridge ignited another round of nationwide debate. Māori Affairs Minister Peter Sharples assured others that, quote, "It doesn't make me anti-Pakeha or anti-New Zealanders of European descent to be fighting for my Māori flag, and it does not diminish the status of our national flag." However, not everyone was convinced. Transit New Zealand initially refused on the grounds that it was not the flag of a recognized country, although many pointed out that company flags and the EU flag had already been approved to fly. United Future leader Peter Dunn claimed a separate flag would be divisive. Labour MP Shane Jones called it the flag of a Māori Party MP Hone Harawira, and Labour leader Phil Goff claimed it could morph into a symbol of dissension and divisiveness. Dover Samuels emerged from retirement to lambast the flag again as a symbol of separatism that nobody had lived and died under. The Prime Minister at the time, Helen Clark, upheld the refusal, but was open to change if there was consensus. Among public reactions, some promoted the national flag as the sole symbol to represent all, with public comments like, quote, "The New Zealand flag represents all New Zealanders," and "One country, one law, one flag for everybody." Others objected to the idea of singling out Māori and sarcastically suggested that every flag should be displayed on Auckland Harbour Bridge on Waitangi Day. Here you see some examples of some political cartoons with different attitudes towards the Tino Rangatiratanga flag. This one obviously being quite critical, turned into a symbol saying, you know, Māori radicals. Here's one on the opposite end of the spectrum in support of the change. And there's a little caption here with the just next to the boat. "You're quite right, son. Didn't kill me after all." Linda confidently asserts that non-Māori who object to the flag are insecure, delusional, and arrogant people who aren't used to having their history and authority questioned. They see the existence of other cultures as an affront to God's country and a loss to them, not understanding that Māori were the ones who lost everything. She says the flag reminds everyone that Māori won't go back to the time when they were just labourers and maids, and this is precisely why people are offended. To those people, she sends a bold message to set the record straight. Quote, "Why are you offended at our flag when it's our country? You came over on a pox-ridden boat." So some reflections on the journey. Linda says her 1989 self would be astonished. She said, quote, "Even talking with Hilda, we had no idea it would become as iconic as it has to following generations." She credits youth of all backgrounds for esteeming the flag, which signals a huge shift to learning shared history, saying, "When I was in school, I learned more about Egypt than my own culture." The watershed moment was when a friend sent her a photo of the flag aloft Auckland Harbour Bridge. Since then, she has been proud to see it in exhibitions, during Māori Language Week, at concerts, and at Parliament. However, it's the little things that humble her more, like seeing it on car stickers, the t-shirts of smiling children, or a tiny rural homestead. As the last living designer, she feels she has lost anonymity. In 2022, she took exception to anti-vaccination protesters, flying it alongside Trump flags at Parliament, prompting harassment from the far right. She said, "I got on the anti-vaxxers hit list, but I don't care. I've always been on the front lines." If there's anything that does concern her, she's disappointed that it profits overseas manufacturers who took the design out of Māori hands. For her, it's not about the money, but she prefers that any profits benefit the community. but she accepts that a locally produced flag would cost a week's groceries, so she's happy to sign foreign-made $2 flags to reclaim them and, quote, make them tutu, or genuine. The flag is showing up more overseas as Māori athletes and diaspora bring copies to keep their connection with their homeland, especially during 2023's Football World Cup, when FIFA officially approved its display alongside the national flag. It is also world famous among other Indigenous peoples who see Aotearoa New Zealand as an evolved society for Indigenous rights. To them, the flag is an inspirational story of courage and strength. It's also instructive to compare the journey of the flag with its original inspiration, the Australian Aboriginal flag. Linda was saddened to hear that the Australian government paid its designer Harold Thomas 13.75 million Australian dollars to obtain the copyright, which he considered as a pittance compared to what Aboriginal communities need. She emphasizes that she will never sell the rights, and she would like to meet him to know the full story behind his decision. Other than that, she sees more to celebrate. Later that same year, she was blown away to witness the Aboriginal flag on Sydney Harbour Bridge after it permanently replaced the flag of New South Wales there. She sees affinities between the two flags, as they both came out of injustice, people dying, resistance, injustice, and reclamation, but have now come a long way. So now on to the future of the flag. Where will the Tino Rangatiratanga flag be in another 30 years? Linda hopes it will reach the point where it's like it has always been there and become unquestioned. And she's happy that this is already true for younger generations who will carry it into the future. She counts on them to push for more adoption and counter stubborn attitudes. The official display of the flag on public buildings is encouraged, but not mandated by the government, which is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it means that adoption is gradual and inconsistent. As you can see from my map here, reaching out to all the regional councils asking about their policy on flying the flag. 2 of the regions display every day. Some display only on request, and few of them display never. However, it does mean that when they do fly it, it demonstrates a more sincere desire to celebrate the culture. Linda criticizes the common practice of flying the flag only on Waitangi Day, saying, do Māori exist on only one day? She would like to see the year-round display of the flag become standard, an idea that is catching on. In the nation's largest city, Auckland, several councillors, members of parliament, and the local tribe Ngāti Whātua have called for the flag to feature permanently on Auckland Harbour Bridge. An online petition backing the proposal has 1,399 signatures at the time of writing. And whether physical or virtual, the flag's capacity to inspire and strengthen makes it even more necessary as life becomes more uncertain. With economic anxiety, record-breaking floods, and climate change in the past 2 years, Linda notes that a powerful symbol can lift spirits by reminding them of their autonomy and connecting them to something greater. She says the flag is the physical manifestation of kaupapa, or principles, that are 1,000 years old, giving it timeless appeal for generations to come. And she just hopes that its story will be told right. Conscious that many negatively associate the flag solely with Māori partisans, she plans to clear up the murk by explaining its true history in an oriori, or lullaby book, a children's book, and a full memoir. The main message she wants to leave posterity is that although she is the flag's kaitiaki, or guardian, it's not really about her. Thanks to every member of Te Kawariki and everyone who flies it respectfully, the Tino Rangatiratanga flag is swiftly becoming as fundamental to the country as the red earth it boldly symbolizes. Thank you. Oh, yes.
Do you think there's any relationship in the controversies within the community and within New Zealand in general with this flag compared to the controversy or instability of the acceptance of the current national flag?
These two issues are kind of separate. So the flag that the Māori want to represent themselves and the ones that they would accept as a national flag are sort of two different questions, and it depends on the designs that they're considering at each time. They all have different histories behind them. The question was how I got in contact with Linda. I simply reached out on Facebook. Not much of an answer there, sorry. But since the original story was in London, the Flag Institute reached out to me because I'm a member from New Zealand, and they wanted me to write about some New Zealand flags, since I have a bit of that cultural background, the cultural context. And they brought up this flag as something that their members would like to know a bit more about. So I thought, okay, I'll look into it. I didn't know a huge amount about it at the time, but I had seen that she had been interviewed by other news outlets. I knew that she was the last living designer and she's still active somewhere. So I looked up where I might get into contact with her. I explained my situation and she was very happy to talk with me. She's very passionate about the flag and spreading it to the wider world. Okay, so the question was whether there's a place to purchase it that would directly benefit the Māori people. That's a good question. I think if you purchase it from a New Zealand company, that should they should have all the licensing in place to do that. Okay, thank you.